I can't even imagine. Have you heard those words and thought to yourself, neither can I? But it happened. You lived it. But most importantly, you survived it. We hear you, we see you, and we're here to talk about it. We're two moms, lifelong best friends, and we've both experienced traumatic, life-altering events involving our children.
Welcome to episode 16 of I Can't Even Imagine. I'm Victoria.
And I'm Stephanie.
We were talking about the difference between men and women as parents.
Yes.
And something that drives me up a wall is that in the morning, I'm very mindful. I hate using that word now because it's been so overused. But I'm very mindful of aware of the way I wake up my children. Mm-hmm. I go upstairs at 6 o'clock, open up my son's door. I say, time to wake up. And then he talks in his sleep quite a bit, which is really funny. Like, I don't know if he talks in his sleep while he's like sleeping, but as he's in that like almost waking up zone, he'll start. And then I'll be like, dude, it's time to wake up, time for school. He's like, oh, fine. I go, okay, sit up so I know you're awake. All right, I'm up. Cool. Then I leave his room, but I go to see my 9-year-old. And I wake her up and I say, baby, it's time to wake up. And I'm very quiet. She hates waking up. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I don't want to. Mm-hmm. And then the cat usually jumps in there and he's being so cute and like snuggly. And then she wakes up and I go and I turn the bathroom light on for her and it's a dimmer. So it's all the way down to the dimmest it can go. Mm-hmm. And she always says, light on, fan off. So I always turn her bedroom light on, which is just like a little desk lamp. And then I turn her fan off. And then I go downstairs. My husband, hey, time to wake up.
Flips all the lights on?
Lights right on.
I also feel like it's somewhat of a military thing, too.
I know, but if, God forbid, I did that to him.
Hell no.
It would ruin his month. And I'm like, you would not like that.
No.
He's like, no, of course not, but it gets you up. Yeah, but don't do that to them.
Yeah. No, I'm the same way, just like you. I come in, I turn the fans off because I like white noise and stuff. Yep. So I turn off like the white noise stuff. Because, I mean, that wakes me up when my white noise stuff goes off. So I don't turn any lights on. I just come over and kind of like rub their backs. Hey, baby, good morning. It's time to wake up. Okay. Then I'll like open the doors because they sleep with the doors closed. Mm-hmm. I open the doors and then I kind of, they hear me making sounds when I'm in the kitchen or whatever. And then they just kind of mosey on in. But I don't do that.
I would never do that to somebody.
And the same thing, too. Like if I'm trying to sleep in my bed, the way that my bed is set up, it like faces my bathroom, and my bathroom light is really harsh, and I hate it because it always shines right. And whoever's eyes are on the bed, it shines right in your face.
Right.
And it's like the way that our room is set up, there really is no other way to set it up the way that it is. So because we have a huge bed and not a very large room. So anytime the bathroom light is on and I'm trying to go to sleep or I am sleeping, I'm yelling at my husband, can you turn off the light? Can you shut the door? I mean, it's hurting my eyes. And he's like, oh, like, why are you always complaining about this? Blah, blah, blah. Like he's annoyed that I'm saying something about it. Mm-hmm. But when I'm in the bathroom and I wake up before him, I'm always shutting the door behind me. I go in and then I turn the light on. I don't open the door wide open and then bam, right in your face. Yep. And if accidentally I do, he's like, oh God. I'm like, well, that's how it feels, fucker.
I know. I don't understand. Do they not have any awareness?
Today we welcome Chelsea Defina, mother of 3. She is a health and trauma coach and owner of Pain to Power Coaching. Hi, Chelsea. Thank you for coming in today.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. So
very excited.
Yes, me too.
And I'm so glad you were able to come into the studio.
Me too.
Yeah, we love having people in person as opposed to virtual. So.
Yes, this is my first experience on it in person. Usually I do virtual, and I'm so excited to be here and doing this.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about your backstory and how you got to where you are today.
All right. So I am 36 years old, a mother of 3 kids. My story starts about 7 years old, truly. I grew up, down in Florida with both of my parents. They got divorced at 7, and that's kind of where my world just kind of changed. I grew up as an only child up until I was 12 years old. Shortly after my parents got divorced, my mom got remarried with my stepfather. We moved up to Connecticut, left everything behind that I knew. My father stayed in Florida, and my mom ended up pregnant with her second child. So when I was 12 years old, I became a caretaker, essentially. Year and a half after that, my second sister was born. So 13, 14 years old, instead of playing with my friends, I was making sure the house was clean and my sisters were taken care of. Both my mom and my stepfather worked full time, so I never really went out with people. I was very alone most of my life growing up. Even before my sisters were born, I'd be in my room watching TV while my parents were doing whatever. My father was, he was an alcoholic, not admitting that, but he's been to rehab. Every time we were together, he was drinking. My mom, she had to pick up the pieces, I guess, so to speak. And she ended up getting remarried to another alcoholic. And that's kind of where everything for me started to go downhill. When I was 14 years old, I started to resent the fact that I was a caretaker for two babies. I'd be out with them and people would ask me if I was the mother.
Had that same thing happen to me. My sister was born, she's my biological sister, but she was born when I was 10.
Yeah.
And then my parents divorced when I was 13, and my mom ended up having an unexpected oops and had my brother, and I was 15. So 10 years younger than me, 15 years younger than me, and I can relate to a lot of what you're saying.
Yeah, and I mean at that age, from what I've learned, that's like the most difficult age. You're finding out who you are as a woman, as a person. You're developing new hormones, and I kind of had to just become the girl and woman that my mom needed me to be at that time.
Mm-hmm. Did you find that your mom ever kind of treated you almost like a therapist? Did your mom ever drop the really adult things on you and you're like, you were the only person there that she could drop it on? Did that happen to you?
100%. I remember I started smoking cigarettes, and that would be our bonding time where she would sneak away, and my stepfather didn't know that she smoked cigarettes, and she would just sit there and tell me all about the problems. And even growing up, I would be the one that she would call. It was never how's life, how's things going, I'm so proud of you. It was always like, oh my gosh, can you believe that this happened, or I don't know what to do, your stepfather's drinking again. And I didn't have a childhood. I truly had to become an adult at 14, and I became the therapist.
Did you have any inkling that things were not good with your parents when you were younger, right before they divorced, or any time?
I don't have any memories. I only know what my mom and my dad would tell me about each other. I don't. I didn't even see it coming, truly.
Yeah.
I remember sitting at the dinner table and them telling me, and I just, as a little girl, just ran out the door and crying in tears, and everything I knew was just gone. I don't remember feeling or seeing any abuse or anything. Even my dad's drinking, I didn't really notice it until I would be with him every other weekend, and then he wouldn't show up, or he'd be at, Doc's beach house up at the bar, and I would be on the beach playing with myself at 8 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just something I thought was normal. And then, when I got into high school, freshman year, I was still a good kid trying to please my mom. I started cheerleading and doing all the things. And I found the only attention I would get from her was when I did something wrong. So, I started drinking and hanging out with the older kids and subconsciously just being bad because it was the only reaction I'd get from her. And sophomore year in high school, it got really bad. I was dating somebody that was 10 years older than me that was out of high school. And I started doing a lot of cocaine and partying all the time and telling my mom I was somewhere else, but would be in a hotel party, up until 4 a.m. And it just spiraled from there. I tried to commit suicide when I was 16 years old. I took a bottle of pills, and my mom's reaction was, well, if you wanted to die, you wouldn't have left 2 in there. And that's how I grew up, was without any emotional support, that is. And I look back, and it was me just begging for help, Mom, love me, show me love. And it's emotional now because, like I was saying before, I was never allowed to be emotional. I was never allowed to cry. I was never allowed to talk about feelings. It was always shut it off, keep quiet, keep everyone happy. My stepfather, he started drinking a lot. And, I remember one time he put his hands on me and pinned me up against the wall, and my mom supported him. And that's when I knew, okay, it's just me. It's just me. So I moved out at 16 years old. I started working. I got my own apartment. I became a functioning addict. So I got a really good job as a director at 20, bought my own house at 21, and on paper looked really good. It looked awesome. But, inside I was dying. I was using cocaine all the time. And, like I said, the only attention I would get was when something bad happened to me. So I put myself in situations of sexual abuse, growing up, struggling with intimacy because of those situations. And at 27 is when I hit my final bottom. And that whole year I was dating a guy that literally disgusts me. And he introduced me to crack. And I did that for a whole year. And I just remember getting on my knees, and I called my mom and I was like, I need help. I need help. She was the only person that I felt could help me, even though we had that weird abusive relationship. And she sent me down to Florida to a rehab. It was supposed to be like this place on the beach where you're going to swim with dolphins and you're going to get help. And it ended up being literally a crack motel. And that was the biggest eye-opener for me, seeing, at 27 years old, 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds, running away and then prostituting themselves for drugs. And I knew in that moment, I'm never using again. This is not for me. And, so much of rehab is just teaching you to put down the drug, put down the alcohol. And that's what I thought was going to fix my problems. Okay, if I just don't pick up again, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be so good. And I met my now husband. Once I got out of rehab, I went to a halfway house and I met him there. Listen, if you are in recovery, give yourself time before getting into a relationship, because you cannot focus on yourself if you're trying to save somebody else. And that's what I learned. My boyfriend, now husband, relapsed, and I had to save him. So, I paid for him to get into a hotel. I was trying to get him sober, and for weeks just fighting to get him sober. And I ended up relapsing. And it was probably the worst. It was worse than before I went to rehab, because I started using things I never used. I started sniffing heroin. We moved back up to Connecticut so I could save him and remove him from the environment. And things just got really, really bad, to the point where he stole from me everything. And I kicked him out. He went to rehab and we were broken up. We were done. And a few weeks later, I found out I was pregnant.
Wow.
And this was after trying to get pregnant my whole adolescence, because I thought it was going to make me happy and it was going to save me, and I never got pregnant no matter how hard I tried. And then this one time I ended up pregnant, and that's when I officially put everything down, and that was 10 years ago in April. And my daughter saved my life. I got back together with my boyfriend at the time. We tried to make things work. He got better. He got sober. Over the 10 years, he's relapsed about 4 times. So, it's so much more, I realized, than putting down the drug. Because 3 years into my sobriety, I was so miserable. I felt like a dry drunk. And that's when I learned, there's this void that I've been trying to fill, and the alcohol and the substance was just numbing it. And now my new drug was food. My new drug was avoidance. And I gained so much weight. I was so depressed. I was laying on the couch while my daughter was playing. And I just felt like I did before I got sober. So at 30 years old, I started focusing on my health. I started focusing, I wanted to lose the weight. And that's what it started with. It started with, okay, I'm going to feel better if I lose weight. And over the course of the year, I did lose the weight, and I felt confident in my skin, but I was still miserable. It was never good enough. It didn't matter how skinny I got. I could still see fat. I could still see, the imperfections in my face or the imperfections in my body. And I had joined a network marketing company at that time. And, they were the first people that spoke positivity to me, that believed in me in my whole life. So, of course, I leaned into that and I hustled for that. And I did great. I built up a team and, I had hundreds of people under me and I walked across stage. I did all the things and I was freaking miserable to the point where this retreat that I won, that I had tried to win, it was the night before I stopped breathing. I ended up, going to the emergency room. They had tried everything to get me to breathe that they would give asthmatics. Nothing was working. It was during time, when COVID had just happened. So ambulances weren't nearby and I needed to get to an ICU where they had all the tools to help me.
Where were you when that happened?
I was in Connecticut at the time.
Or were you at home?
I was at home when I stopped breathing. I had to drive myself to the emergency room because we had 3 kids at the time.
So you recognized it. It wasn't like somebody else recognized it. You were like, I can't breathe.
Yeah, I started coughing. I started choking. And I was like, I can't catch my breath. And looking back, it was a mix of panic for sure.
Yeah.
And I got to the hospital. My husband found somebody to come over in the middle of the night to watch the kids. And he almost got arrested at the hospital because I just remember like falling down to my knees because the nebulizer wasn't working. Nothing was working. And I finally couldn't breathe. I was grabbing the doctors. I was trying. And my husband was there and he's like, you have to fucking do something. My wife is dying. He like flipped over a table. We need a doctor in here. And honestly, if he hadn't do that, I truly believe I'd be dead because 10 minutes later, an ambulance finally arrived after 2 hours. They put a high flow air ventilator in me and I started breathing again. And even the nurses, when the police were called, were like, this is just a husband that saved his wife. Like, you can't take
Where were you at that? Were you at like an urgent care type place?
Yeah, it was an urgent care. So they weren't equipped with all the things that we needed. So the ambulance got me. I was in ICU for 5 days.
Wow.
And that started my journey because I was told that I developed asthma. I've been to every specialist. I went to every doctor. They're like, we just don't understand it. And then finally they needed something to call it. So they're like, yeah, you developed asthma. And listen, I've been smoking cigarettes and weed all my life and never had any breathing issues. So for me, it was like, how do you just develop asthma? After they put me on an inhaler twice a day, nebulizer twice a day, I was on medication to help open up your lungs. They had me on high doses of prednisone, antibiotics, like literally everything for 6 months on and off. And my mind went crazy.
Yeah, that stuff is nasty.
It truly is. And I mean, being on prednisone, just think of it like someone with anxiety to begin with, being on prednisone for that long, like it messed with my head. Mm-hmm. So I went to the specialist, the pulmonologist, and they just kept giving me medication. So finally I went to a functional medicine doctor, had a lot of tests done. And, over a course of the year, I healed myself truly. Like I haven't had to use any breathing devices. I've had no flare-ups, no issues. And that's when I realized, like, I didn't develop asthma. Like, my nervous system shut down because I was in such a fight or flight mode, trying to chase things and be successful and please people and please my mom. And, I look back and it's like, all I wanted was somebody to tell me, like, you're good job. Like, things I didn't get as a child. I left the company I was with network marketing because to me, it was all a facade. It was all, how can I get the person above me to be successful and happy? And it was all transactional. And that's when I learned, like, most of my life, everything was transactional. My love for my mom was transactional. The people around me, it was all transactional. And I started to set boundaries for the first time in my life. That was the catalyst for my healing. Once my physical body was healed, I was able to start focusing on the emotional healing. And I realized a lot of things. Like, I realized my perfectionism to have to please everybody. I learned, like, my whole life I have been wearing a mask of anybody I'm around. Like, you're having a conversation and they say, like, oh my gosh, I love mushrooms. Like, I would say, oh my God, mushrooms are great, but I hated fucking mushrooms. And I had to literally let go of so many people. So it's like getting sober all over again. After I had done all the work, I met with this therapist, and she was a holistic therapist, and we started doing a lot of inner child work, and everything changed for me then, because I blocked off so much stuff. Like, I couldn't even remember my childhood up until a year ago because I blocked it off. Like, you would ask me what kind of car my mom drove, and I wouldn't remember. I did art therapy and had to literally relive all the trauma that I went through, all the sexual abuse, all the physical abuse, all the emotional abuse, over and over and over again. And that's when I started losing the weight. That's when I started to actually look at myself in the mirror and not pick myself apart. And I knew, like, okay, my purpose right now is not to just help these people get sober, because that's what I was doing. I was, online helping people get sober. And then I was leading them down the perfectionism route of network marketing, but they were still miserable. And I transitioned my health coaching into trauma coaching because no one wanted to come to me and deal with their, like, childhood stuff. Nobody wants to say, okay, yeah, I wasn't loved as a kid. Like, the way to get them in the door was, okay, if you're having trouble losing weight, let's talk. And it would start with, okay, let's reduce inflammation in your body. Let's cut out the things that are giving you inflammation. And then it would start digging in, okay, let's talk about your childhood a little bit. What was it like from 6 to 12? What kind of person were you, growing up as an adult? And I found, working with these women that were in high jobs, that were great, successful business owners, were broken little children, like, living into adulthood. And, like, my purpose, I feel, is just spreading awareness that, if you're an addict, that's not your problem. If you have anxiety, that's not your problem. If you have autoimmune, like, that's not your problem. Like, I truly believe, like, everything can be healed and everything is reversible if you get to the root cause of it. And for me, it was my childhood.
That's powerful.
I need to call you.
Still a work in progress every single day.
Well, that makes the best coaches, therapists, people like that don't have their shit together all the way.
Yeah, and I had to learn, like my mom, like, she would be the one that I was always call. Like, I was the one she would always call. But it was never, like, emotionally reciprocated. It was always like, well, you should have done this or you should have done that. And it was never like, well, I'm here for you. I love you. Like, I remember I told her, like, about the sexual abuse. Like, she did nothing. Like, if my daughter told me that, like, I would probably go and get the person,
Was that
be in jail
from your stepdad or a family member or something?
No, that was from somebody in as an adolescent in high school. But bring up my stepfather, like, during this past year, I had written a letter to my mom before I had cut ties with her, and my stepfather was not a good person. I truly believe he was, with one of my sisters, sexually abusive. When I got pregnant with my daughter, I had to move in with them because my mom had pushed me down the stairs. I had nowhere to go, and he tried getting weird, and I left. And my mom called me a liar. It wasn't true. And then a year later, they found out that he was messaging my little sister's friend inappropriate pictures. So, and he got fired from his job for being weird with another girl. So,
my God.
My whole life, I was always told I was wrong and it was a lie. And, my sisters went through the same exact struggles I did. I got a call when I was pregnant with my second that my sister had tried to kill herself in school. My mom was working, so I was 8 months pregnant, running into my old high school barefoot, and to see her on a gurney because she tried to kill herself, and to come to find out she had been promiscuous with boys, girls are mean with her, and it was the same path I went down. And my other sister, she's with an addict, and she's been in so many car accidents and arrested so many times, and I've tried to save them. And one thing I've learned is like, you can't save people. Like even with my husband, you can't save them. You can't get them sober. You can't make them stop. You can't make them love you. All you can do is lead by example and share your struggles and share your vulnerabilities, because somebody's listening that needs to hear that, you know, their mom, you know, said these things to them and be like, wow, my mom said that too. And to hear it's not okay. You know, it's not okay. Like you don't tell your child every day, like, wow, you need to lose weight, or wow, you know, you should do your hair different. Like, how about, wow, you're beautiful, you know? And then we grow up as women and we pick ourselves apart because that's all we know. And we're judging everybody around us. We're judging ourselves. And the world is so freaking divided because we all have our guards up. We all have our claws out. We all have our mask of protection. And if we realized, like, if we all did the work that it takes to, like, deal with our shit, there would be so much more love in the world.
Yeah. Do you know anything about your mother's past? And does she have childhood trauma that has made her the way that she is?
Yeah. And I've started really diving into that because when I first started my journey, I was so angry. But my mom has had, you know, physical abuse from her father, grew up in a house of addiction. Her brother was sexually abusive to her. She'll never admit this stuff to me, but I've spoken to her mother, and, you know, those are the stories. I think my mom is in a generation of the boomers where they are blind to admittance, I guess. You know, like my grandmother said to me, like, why do you have to dig so deep? Like, why don't you just ignore it? And I'm like, well, if I ignore this stuff, then my daughter's going to go through the same stuff. You know, my dad can't leave the house without smoking weed. He has so much health issues, and it's because he too has trauma. You know, my mom is a workaholic. That comes first. She drinks every single day. And I don't want to live like that. Like, I don't want my daughter to grow up feeling the way I did. And I know it's passed on generation to generation. And I truly believe, like, unless somebody goes through the shit to stop it, it's just going to keep going. Mm-hmm. And it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, it takes somebody to break the generational curses, for sure.
Yeah, and that was a difficult thing for me to accept. And I'm still healing. You know, I host women retreats, and I did one last year in Puerto Rico, and I hired a healer to come. She did Reiki healing. She did, you know, sound healing, all kinds of stuff. And she was like, you know, I feel so much rage here. And, you know, I was like, oh, it's that girl over there. She's very angry. You definitely need to work on her. Good. And she brought us down to the beach. She's like, you know what, Chelsea, I feel like we need to go down to the beach and dig. So she had us go down to the beach and dig holes, scream in it. And I'm just sitting there proud, you know, like I'm not digging in a hole and screaming. Like everybody's watching me. And like I did it, you know, had the mask on, did it. And then she pulled me aside, the only one. And she's like, you need to go back out there and dig. And I'm like, why? She's like, because you have the rage. It's you that has it all. And I was like, like the people that act like we have it all together, we're just wearing a mask. And I had to really like go out there and dig and scream in a hole and like scream out all the stuff I was angry about at my mom and scream at all the people I was mad at in my relationships and literally freaking let the rage out. And I left there feeling like so different. And that's like at the point where I wouldn't even talk to my mom. I hated her. I blamed her. I was so angry. And now, you know, almost a year later, I'm to the point of understanding, you know, like she tried her best. And that generation didn't have the resources we did, you know, we do. The knowledge of social media is good and bad, but, you know, to see that there's other women out there that have struggled with the same thing and how they're overcoming it and understanding, you know, like in recovery, they always say acceptance is the answer to my problems. And it truly is. Like if I can accept the fact that I'm angry about my childhood, then I can work on it. But until I accept it, I can't understand it and I can't heal from it. And it doesn't happen overnight, just like sobriety is a every single day thing because life's going to come up. You're going to want to give up. You're going to want to, you know, reach for something that's just going to make that anxiety and fear and worry and pain go away, but it never does. And I've lost so many friends to overdoses. I've lost so many people to suicide. Just this month alone, working in the space, there's 3 people. 2 of them have been successful in killing themselves. And one of them is now in a psych ward. And they're all older, 50s, family. And it's like, it's that cry for help that everybody wants. Everybody just wants somebody to not say it's okay. You know, we hear that. But just to like be there, like come over and, you know, just talk to us. And that's what I've learned is just people want to be heard. So part of my coaching is asking questions and listening, because I was never a good listener. I always knew the answer. You know, my husband would say something and I'd give him a solution. He's like, Chelsea, I don't need a solution. I just need you to listen. And that's something that I've been working on. And I definitely got it from my mom, because it was always, well, you should have. Well, you could have. Well, you need to. And it was like, okay, just listen. And that's something that I'm working on. And healing is always going to be a part of my life. You're never done. There's always going to be something to work on. But I've realized, you know, addiction wasn't my problem. It was the void I was filling was the true problem. Kind of where I'm at with my mom. Like at first it was like I needed to remove her just because I was so angry that if I stayed in that stage, there was no way I was going to be able to do the things that I needed to. And what I'm trying to learn is how to understand it and not control the situation. So eventually, if my mom and I do talk, you know, just understanding and not creating the same cycle. You know, most people with mental health or addiction issues, 75% of people have been sexually abused, and most of it is done in secret. And if you keep that secret in for so freaking long, like it's going to fester. And it's more the resentment. I felt she should have been there and she should have done something. But if we keep saying should have, could have, would have, it's only killing ourselves. You know, it's like, okay, this happened to me. How can I move forward and make sure it doesn't happen again to anybody else that I love, and educate, you know? And that's why I'm so vocal about my life and vocal about the things that happen to me, because secrets will make us sick, and they always do. And like my dad's the same way. He's 60 something years old and he's angry, and I know I can't change him, and I know I can't make him see it. I can just live my life in hopes that, you know, other people around maybe one day will see it and be like, wow, she's so happy. I want to be happy like that too. What is she doing? You know, and it's the same with sobriety. Like you just have to go and spread that joy and, you know, that peace, but also be honest about your weaknesses. And it's so messed up because it does happen so much. My husband, the same thing, told me recently about something that happened to him as a kid. And it's with the closest people to you most of the time. And you grow up with different intimacy issues and self-image issues because of that one situation, but you have to talk about it. And if he's not willing to do that, he's not going to change. It's the stories that we tell ourselves over and over and over again. If you can't forgive, and that includes yourself, like going back, and if you keep saying, well, if this never happened, then I would have, and you're angry about it, and you look at it like, okay, this happened for a reason. Everything in this world happens for a reason. You know, I can't change it, but what can I do now? You know, and a lot of people don't look at life that way, and they sit in that anger and grudge, and instead of like with my breathing, like I was so mad because it hindered my network marketing career that I thought was everything to me. But I opened my eyes to what was really supposed to be happening in my life. It's so hard because we have these stories we're telling ourselves every single day. And it's the stories that we tell ourselves that become reality. I truly believe the only way to heal is to face the issues. When I went through art therapy, it's like EMDR. I don't know if you guys know about that. But I had to literally tell my story from beginning to end, and then my therapist would read it to me over and over and over again, and I'd have to close my eyes, and I'd have to feel it, and I'd have to like live it, and I'd have to let it all out. And if you're avoiding the one thing that broke you, you can't really heal. And I mean, that I learned that with my mom too. Like I was avoiding just to get rid of like my anger from her. But now I know I'm at the point where I need to learn how to be around her and know that I can't control the way she is. I can only control the way that I feel about it. And some people are too unwilling to do that. And it's sad because you see the beauty in them, and you see the trauma in them, and you see what they're capable of, and the good sides, right? You know, if you only did this, you would be such an amazing soul, the soul that you're supposed to be. And I see it with my father too. Like he can't, he's drinking every day. And, you know, I just set boundaries where, okay, after 2:00, I'm just not going to be around him. I'm not going to answer the phone. I'm not going to say things that, you know, I'm proud of, so that he'll say I'm proud of you, because I know that he's incapable of doing that and it's only going to hurt me. It's devastating, you know. As much as I hated my mom, I was always talking about her, and I finally tried reaching out to her, and, you know, as a narcissist, she flipped the role and now has me blocked. And I'm like, if she were to die tomorrow, I would feel guilty my whole life.
Yeah.
You know, I'd feel bad. And I have to just love her the way that I wish she could love me, but not expect things from her. And I think my whole growing up, I would be like, well, you weren't there, and da-da-da-da-da, and try to make her see it. But instead of doing that, just accept her as a broken child. Like, I literally look at her as a little broken girl now. Mm-hmm. And it helps me. I mean, it might not help everybody, but like, even people that try to hurt me or have hurt me in the past, like, you have to forgive them. You have to find a way to forgive them, because it's only going to benefit you. Because if you hold on to that resentment, which, you know, we all do, wishing that we had the mom or the father that we had, but it's just looking at things differently, and it's going to be over time. And I suggest art therapy or EMDR for everyone in the world.
Yeah.
Like,
Did you forgive your mom, not just like to yourself, but did you outwardly forgive her? To her?
My last message, which was probably a week ago, I sent her a message, and she didn't see it, I don't think, because I think she has me blocked. But I said to her, I forgive you. I just want you to know that. And I understand, you know, why you did the things you did. I said, but I just want you to look at my sisters right now, and that they're struggling. And if you could do whatever you can to try and be there for them, that's all I want. And I told her that. And in my heart, I do forgive her. And until I said those words out loud, I planned on not talking to her my whole life. I was like, I'm never talking to her again. And that was like even 2 months ago. But when I finally started educating myself on, okay, she's got the same trauma. And like you were saying before, like, you see it in your kids. Like, you're never going to be the perfect mom. You're going to mess them up somehow. And I'm sure my mom felt the same way, that she tried her best. You know, she grew up in an abusive house, and she married men that she had to fix. So all of her time went into that instead of being the mother she could have been. And I see the transition in myself too. Like, when my daughter turned 7, they say subconsciously, like, when your trauma started, that's when you start seeing things different. Like, I can love and kiss my 3-year-old, like snuggle with her, but my 7-year-old, I have such a hard time with that. And that's when I started realizing, like, okay, like, my mom probably was the same way. Now I just want to educate myself, like reading books and listening to other people who have been through it, and like reassuring myself and learning different coping skills. Like, that's everything for me. Instead of bottling it up and pretending everything's okay and not crying and not getting emotional. Like, they say, like, your nervous system when you cry is like just shedding. Like, you have to cry, and it's something I literally never did.
I mean, I think anybody can relate to, after a good cry you feel better, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's like a weight that's just lifted.
Yeah, I mean, I never put myself in positions to cry. I'd always watch scary movies because I didn't want to cry. And you know, it's just putting myself in situations where it's okay now.
Yeah, I try not to cry.
Yeah, I know.
It's like, it's an active
100%.
thing. Well, not so much active anymore. I think it's kind of like just natural.
Conditioned.
Yeah, I'm not like an over crier. I will cry.
When you get
for
angry, like
appropriate
very
times.
Angry, do you find yourself crying, like tearing?
When I get extremely overwhelmed,
Yeah.
that's when and like if I'm having a tiff with my husband and he's just not fucking hearing me, and he's at a 10, and I'm an avoidant kind of person. I don't like to get to a 10 because I grew up in a household with a lot of yelling, and I don't like that. So I'll get avoidant, and then we're never getting anywhere.
Yeah.
And that will make me cry.
Yeah.
You know,
I remember just in high school, like when I was going through it, like getting in fights with other girls, like right before it, I'd be just so freaking angry. And then my eyes would just start watering. I'm like, why are my eyes watering? I'm just so pissed.
Right.
And that was literally just emotion saying, let it out, like let it out, because your emotions are turning into rage. And that's what I have always carried, was rage. And
I've pushed rage aside because I saw it so much as a kid.
Yeah.
And it's not something that I've ever wanted to be part of who I am. So I've either, maybe it's just not who I am, or I've purposely pushed that part Like, I get mad, don't get me wrong. But that rage, I won't let that burble out.
Yeah.
It's
You
not
have good
gonna happen.
self-control. Or maybe you're not.
Maybe I just don't feel it. I get annoyed very often.
Yeah. Well, I never thought I had rage until, like I said, that retreat I went to, because I was so easy to blame and point fingers at people. And then when I went to that and they were like, you have rage, now I see it and I'm like, wow, I do. Like,
Maybe I do. I just
get
don't know it,
annoyed
right?
at the easiest things. Like, my daughter will say something and I'm like so annoyed. Like,
Yeah.
That's me. I
annoyed.
have a lot of rage.
Yeah.
Definitely.
but I didn't know that's what it was. You know, I just thought I was just like heartless. in a
Just
sense.
today, I was almost swerved off the road trying to reach back and slap my daughter for being an ass.
Yeah. And it's
She
so
was
hard.
being such a shit. She was right behind me, and I'm like,
Yeah. And it's hard because you try so hard not to be that person. Like, my mom was that person, and then I see myself, like pieces of her, and I'm like, oh my God, like,
Oh, when your mom comes out of your own mouth.
Oh, it's the
it's
worst.
awful.
yeah.
I love you, Mom, but God, it's the worst.
It's the worst. And I'm sure she felt the same way about her mom coming out of her mouth.
100%.
Oh, you know what I love is when you get with the other generations and you see the way that your mom and your grandmothers interact with each other. It can be really fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
'Cause
It's entertaining.
It's so entertaining because then, like, when I would go with my mom up to Gainesville to spend time with my granny, and my granny, I love her so much. She's one of my most favorite people in the entire world. And so, like, in my eyes, like, granny can do no wrong.
perfect. Yeah,
She's
same.
perfect. And so my mom's always like, always, talking about the trip and getting ready. I can't wait to see my mom, da, da, da. And then when we all get together and, like, my granny annoys the shit out of her. And I'm just in the corner like, this is so funny. And my mom will complain to me about the stuff that annoys her about that my granny's doing that annoys her. And I'm just like, she's right. I'm on
the
granny's
same
side.
thing.
Sorry.
But it's interesting because I'm very much understanding that my girls particularly will be so fucking annoyed with me.
Yeah.
And I think that that's just something about mothers and daughters.
It has to be.
It is what it is. Like, my grandmother used to annoy the crap out of my mom.
Yeah.
She would get so frustrated with her. And I'm like, I don't get it. She's the sweetest woman on the planet. How can you be frustrated with her? But then
a
my
different
mom comes
relationship.
around and I'm like, she's annoying me. Oh my God. And my kids are like, what are you talking about? She's awesome. And I'm just like, they don't see it. And I get it. My girls probably particularly are going to say that I'm so fucking annoying.
Yeah. And I think
And it's okay.
It's how, social media and the movies portray relationships. Like, oh, this daughter and mother are so perfect and so good.
Right.
But, even the best relationships, like, they got their issues, like, they
Right.
got their stuff. And I don't think there ever is, like, a perfect relationship ever. And if we expect that, we're always going to be let down.
Yeah.
And I think it's the things about people that Dr. Phil always says, there's something about that guy I don't like about myself. And I think that that's what it is when it comes to, like, daughters and mothers. The things that annoy you about that person, it's just a mirror because that's you.
100%.
You're just as annoying in the same way. You just don't see it.
Yeah, moms.
Yeah, they're great.
Moms and daughters. I just have one daughter, but she's between two boys, so she is a lot sometimes.
She's a lot.
She's a lot.
Yeah, I definitely, because I have girls and boys, and I struggle with the girls. And you look back at it, and it's like you said, like, watching my mom and my grandmother interact. Like, my grandmother would come to visit, but she'd always leave early. Like, every single time she visited, she would leave early, and I never understood it. But looking back now, I get it, and it's the resentments that we hold because we want our moms to be emotionally supportive and loving, but it's not as easy as we want it to be,
We used to not be able to see each other very often just because she's a workaholic. And so this has been really good for our friendship and because we talked about the podcast for a really long time and then finally able to do it and look forward to seeing each other every week, and it's been good.
And it's so important, like the podcast that you're doing, like about heal, it's everything. And, you know, you meet different walks of people, you see different situations, and you can apply it to your life. And then there's other things that you can't. And together, you guys are growing like as sisters, truly.
Yeah.
And I love that you had brought up that you've done a retreat because we could pick your brain because that's actually one of our big goals.
Yeah.
Just do it. I mean, I overthought it for so long. It's $1,500. You stay here, you get all your healing, you get all your food for 5 days, and you're helping people.
Right.
I find vendors that I feel like I'm drawn to, and I try to find people that are local. So like my next one is in June. It's in Fort Pierce, Florida. So I've researched all the different types of people. I'll get on a Zoom with them, and you could feel their energy right away. You could see like, okay, these are the types of women that are going to be on this retreat. This is what I need, and you know, and kind of say, okay, this is what I want from you. You put together kind of an itinerary for the day, send it to me, and send me your pricing, and then kind of go from there. I post all over Facebook and TikTok. Like last year, I had a spot to fill, and I did a post, and this girl right away randomly was just drawn to me, and you know, she came on the retreat, and it totally changed her life. And now she's helping me host the next one.
That's
so I just try
awesome.
to partner up with somebody, and you know, like this one, we're having a life coach come, and she's talking about the nervous system and how different pains in your body are affected by different traumas in your life. I have a Reiki healer coming, a tarot card reader, and you know, I go shopping. I get all the food. I have my partner do the cooking because I suck at cooking. I think for me, for so long, I just wanted to be perfect. I didn't want to mess it up. I'm like, well, what if nobody signs up, you know, and I let fear kind of hold me back from it. But the one I did last year was in Puerto Rico. So it was kind of scary being like somewhere new that I didn't know and having to like drive through these mountains and get people. But it was.
And people coming from out of, I mean, you're going out of the country.
No one knows anybody. No one knew anybody.
Do you need a passport to go to Puerto Rico?
Not Puerto Rico, no.
Different language.
Yeah.
I figured.
Yeah, but it's different. It's a whole different world down there.
Things that you went through kind of led you down this path to starting your coaching. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that and how that began and where it's at now?
So when I left network marketing, I had seen, you know, the impact that I had made on people and their belief system, but I knew that I had to kind of break a barrier of false belief and real belief. And I had people reaching out to me and was like, what are you doing? You need to tell me. And I just started helping them without being paid for it. And, you know, that's naturally what I've done my whole life is just help people. And I figured I needed to put it together an 8-week program because a lot of people were doing 4-week programs for weight loss, but I wanted to do it different. I didn't want to just provide meal plans and workouts. I wanted to incorporate the trauma base to it. So I got certified as a trauma specialist and educated myself on how to be able to help people that have been through trauma. And now when I say trauma, it's not like, oh, I was physically abused as a kid. Like trauma can be literally anything. Like your parents were working and you didn't see them too much, taking care of your siblings. Like trauma is whatever, you know, is your thing. So I put together an 8-week program where, you know, I do a client intake, I get to know you, I ask questions that most health coaches wouldn't ask. And it dives deep into your childhood. It dives into your habits, your patterns, and we focus a lot on habits. And my first client had an amazing transformation, not just physically, but mentally. She ended up leaving a abusive relationship, finding her power. Now she is, you know, on her own way to become a healer herself in a different aspect. And I just started realizing through talking to people that women needed this. You know, we want this quick fix. We want, you know, the pill, the shot, the thing that's going to make the weight go away. And it was never the weight. It was always, you know, the trauma behind it trying to please everybody else. So I developed an 8-week program. That was my primarily focus. I have a Facebook Messenger group where all my clients go in, and you know, at first it was very quiet. No one wants to open up and talk and share and, you know, take a selfie of themselves every day, but I make them do uncomfortable shit every single day. So every day, you know, after you do your workout, you're taking a picture. If you don't do a workout, you're still taking a picture. And you know, it's the ugly pictures that we call it. It's the sweaty non-makeup, and it's being like open and vulnerable. So in my chats and in my groups, we're talking about our struggles. We're talking about, you know, the things that we normally wouldn't talk about in front of a group of women. Because I don't know about you, but I never got along with women. I mean, you guys are best friends, but my group was never women because I didn't trust them. I was always judged by them. And I wanted to create a safe environment for women to truly remove their masks that we're wearing. And my one-to-one coaching has just been a game changer. And then it evolved because we're talking to these people every single day. You know, we're becoming sisters, we're becoming friends, and we've never met each other in person. And I wanted to be able to provide an environment where now we can meet each other in person. So I started incorporating yearly women's retreats. And my first one was last year, and it was just amazing. Like, not one person knew each other. We traveled to a random place. Some people had to share a bed, like a king size bed, with someone you never met before. And I truly believe like change happens in discomfort, just doing the things every single day that make us uncomfortable. So Pain to Power coaching has evolved over the last 2 years. I primarily keep it to an 8-week. I have done 4 weeks, but people need a lot longer to open up than just 4 weeks. And after their 8 weeks is open, I leave them in that chat. I don't kick them out, make them go. Like I leave them in there, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And then, you know, the people who aren't ready to change, I'll eventually take them out. And when you're ready, you can come back to me. And, you know, just showing them their power. And the response I've gotten is like, one of my clients just sent me a message today, and she's like, you are going to be somebody that I remember for my entire life. In the 43 years, that's had the biggest impact on my life. She's like, you're going to move mountains. You already do, with you sharing your story and you being that vulnerable voice that, you know, other people aren't. Because if you follow me on social media, you'll see like I share everything. There's no fakeness. There's no like, this is what people want to hear to gain followers. It's like, if you don't like what I hear, you don't have to follow me. But if you need to hear what I'm saying, follow along, and maybe you'll hear something one day and you'll be ready for that change. And, you know, most of my clients have been following me for a year, 2 years before they commit, because not everybody's ready to do that deep dive. So it's been amazing. You know, my clients text me all the time. We become friends because you find the people that come to you are attracted to you because they are your people, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. How many people did you have at the retreat?
I keep it small, so around 12 to 13.
That's still great.
Yeah. It's amazing because we did like a buddy system. So I had one of our Reiki healers. She gave a buddy bracelet. So like my color was red, and it was based off of energy. And my color as a child, they always said you were fire engine red. And I was like, how the hell would she know this? But my buddy was a redhead, and both of my kids are redheads. And at the end of it, we had to write a letter to our buddy, and you couldn't read it until you got home. And just to hear the stories, you know, my buddy was a perfectionist, workaholic, you know, chasing the degrees, chasing, you know, the clout. She's not.
And she was a client of yours too?
She was not a client of mine. She just found me. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So not all the people that come to my retreat are clients. They just saw it and came. So her, I had never met in my life. She saw me on social media and decided to come. Now, you know, she's like, I read the letter that you wrote me once a week. And she's somebody that was very hard to break in the beginning of the retreat. Like, we would have share circles, you know, kumbaya, all that stuff. And, you know, she was like, I'm not sharing anything. I'm good. I'm not sharing anything. But then, like, towards the end of it, she finally felt comfortable enough to share. And it's because myself and other people who were at stages of sharing started sharing, and she felt safe enough. And it just slowly started to evolve. And just hearing the stories from these women, like most of them were in abusive relationships, whether physical or emotional, whether it was being cheated on or their parents were narcissists and they had to grow up and, you know, try to please them. And like one of the girls there, she, same thing as me, like clean freak, always cleaning. Like if your house is a mess, you're not good enough. I told her, I was like, just for a week, like put a cup in your sink and leave it there overnight. Oh, I can't do that. I'm like, you need to do that. Like put the cup in the sink, dirty, leave it there. And it's like the things that make us like constantly think and worry are the things that we have to do over and over and over again. You know, just like I make them take a picture of themselves and share it. Like, who wants to do that? Why? Because you're going to think you're conceited or, you know, you're too full of yourself, which is why we don't. And that's like one of my girls. She's like, she's had this amazing transformation, like not just physical, but internal, like the transformation where she used to be in the mom club at like her kids sports thing, and they'd be talking about people and this and that, and she always felt it wasn't right, but she conformed and did it. And now she's finally sitting alone by herself, not in that clicky thing. She's okay if people are talking about her, and it's like, that's the transformation that I want. It's not the physical. I don't care. Like, I don't care about the physical. I want you to be confident enough in your skin to stand up for yourself and not be part of the clique. And me leaving network marketing was a huge thing because it fluffed my ego. I had hundreds of people following me, but I had to be okay with myself to break free from that and like be alone. And it's just been so rewarding. So yeah, my retreats are kept small, 10 to 13. I like to keep it at, so we can get intimate and kind of, peel back the layers. I don't believe that it needs to be huge. It's the smaller your circle, I honestly believe, is the realest of your circle. So this year we're in Fort Pierce. There was a place right on the water, right in, with a pool. And, I just had to do the research behind it, really.
Now, for somebody who wants to go, how much is it?
So it's $1,500, $200 deposit. So to claim your spot, you just have to pay $200, and then you have until June 1st to pay the rest of it. So you don't have to come up with $1,500 right away. You pay as you can. They just message me and they're like, I want a spot. They hold their deposit. I have, notes of what they've paid, and it includes literally everything. Like if you go to a Reiki healer and you pay for the stuff that you're going to get, you're going to pay a couple $100, and all of your food's included, all of your room is included. I did it in Puerto Rico. It was only $1,000, but I ended up offsetting the cost. So this time I wanted to be able to offer more, have numerous healers come. I have a photographer coming to have the girls dress up how they feel confident.
I love that because I'm a photographer.
Yes. And take pictures of them and make them feel beautiful because, most of us women hate being in front of a camera. Mm-hmm. We feel awkward. So to make them, feel beautiful and have a photo to take home with them where they feel empowered and beautiful is amazing. So it's just bringing different pieces, and it's all about trial and error. Like you do a retreat once, you find what worked, what didn't work, what you can tweak. Like for me, I didn't want to go back to Puerto Rico because I had to go drive 30 minutes to an airport, pick these people up in the middle of the night and come back. So staying in Florida, local on the East Coast, where we can watch the sunrises, and it's just a vision. I was used to doing retreats with network marketing, not like this, but like finding a place for us to go and, hang out. But now it's like, now we're really going to start healing,
That's awesome. What was your network marketing? What company were you with?
Beachbody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's another thing. Like a year ago when I started doing all this, I realized how fake it was. And then a year later, they shut down the whole payment model. So all of the money that I had built up over the years that, was residual, and it's your business and you're never going to lose. I thought it
was your own business.
Yeah, no, all taken away. Everything taken away. And that's when I realized, okay, I need to do something that's really my business. Mm-hmm. And that's not going to be taken away, and where I don't have stipulations. And I don't believe in like network marketing supplements. Like I just don't. Like you get your blood work done and you decide what your body needs, and then you take it, So yeah, it was a big eye opener for me.
You talked a little bit about, you're a big fan of like sunshine and being on the water, and kind of dived into a little bit of like the holistic healing side of things. What have you found has really worked for you in that realm? Because that's something that I just personally am very interested in.
Oh, yeah. Since everything with my lung issue and being put on medication after medication, my whole life I was put on psych meds and still miserable. I wanted to go the holistic route. For me, anti-inflammatory has been everything. So like I struggle with the caffeine, but limiting your caffeine, alcohol, dairy has been a huge trigger for me. I notice when I have dairy consistently, like a couple days, like my body hurts. Listening to your body, gluten for me. And then as far as supplements go, I take NAC daily, which helps with inflammation. It's helped my clients tremendously with inflammation. A multivitamin. I take St. John's wort, but if you're on an SSR, I do not take that. And it's literally just my blood work. So if I go and get my blood work done and it says I'm low with B vitamin, then I know I need to take B vitamin, and I really am in tune with my blood work because that tells you everything. I had stool testing done. I healed my gut, which was everything. But everything I do is basically holistic for the most part, no red dyes. I mean, I still have it. I still eat pizza, fast food, but I don't do it over time.
Right. Yeah, I think we're on a precipice. Is that the right word? It's a big shift, I think, that's happening in the way that people talk about their health and talk about health care, and I'm embracing it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, functional medicine saved my life, and there's a reason that insurance doesn't cover it, because the government wants us sick or they won't make any money.
Right.
So I am a big supporter for, holistic healing. And, I was on psych meds and from 14 years old until 2 years ago. And, everyone said, well, you need it. And I'm sure I did, because I wasn't learning how to cope with my issues and the problems that brought me to this. When I learned how to do that and I balanced it out with the right supplements, that's when everything changed. But supplements are something that need to be taken over time. They're not going to work a week, 2 weeks, like 2 months, 3 months, get into your system. But a lot of people want that instant gratification of the world, and it's something that I truly believe, like, holistic healing has, and that's what I teach my clients. It's all holistic, it's all anti-inflammatory, reducing the foods that create, and everybody's different. Every body is different, right? Like, you can eat broccoli because it's healthy, but it could really be causing you inflammation in your body. You don't know unless you try it. And, you really listen to your body. And that's what I do. Like, I used to be obsessed with working out because I thought it was going to make me lose weight. Now, if I wake up and don't feel like working out, I'm not going to work out. And I tell my clients that. But as perfectionists, they struggle with that. And it's creating different habits behind their beliefs.
I love this. How much is your 8-week course?
$3.99.
That's awesome.
It's really not bad.
No, really.
And their retreat price isn't bad either for everything that's included.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, with my program, you get a one-to-one call with me every single week. You're in the group chat. You get a weekly meal plan. You get a movement plan. So not every plan is workouts. It could be walking. It could be stretching. It could be yoga. I find with a lot of my perfectionists that teaching them how to slow down, like for me, meditating and yoga is so freaking hard. But if I can nail that down and teach my body how to slow down, like, my nervous system is going to react the same way. And for me, I was in a constant state of flight or flight, like I was being chased by a bear every single day. And I had to learn, like, okay, you're safe. You're not being chased. You could slow down. And it's still a daily struggle, but.
See, that's me, but I don't work out. I work. I'm out. I'm doing something all the time.
And your body is like this all the time.
Yes.
Your nervous system is like, go, 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 go.
Right.
I tell my clients, I teach them, there's the lion and then there's the cat. We all want to be the cat, the calm one, the one who's slow, who doesn't react, but we're all lion. We're all like, come at me, bro. Like, we're going, let's go. And it's hard to make that transition, because however we had to, adjust as growing up as kids, like, we had to be that lion to protect ourselves, and transitioning into the cat is freaking hard.
And we live in such a fast-paced society.
Yes.
Such a fast. Everybody's in the rush. Everybody's on the go. It's ridiculous.
And our phones, it's like, I'm addicted to my phone 100%.
Yep.
And I struggle with that. It's like, okay, I have to remind myself, like, put it down. It doesn't matter. Whatever doesn't get done today, it's okay. My life's not going to be over. And it was hard, because especially coming from, like, network marketing, it was like, checklist, do this, do this. If you don't do this, you're going to fail. You're going to lose everything. And I had to literally transition to teach myself how to slow down. Like, sitting down and watching a movie with my husband is a freaking struggle, but I literally sometimes have to force myself and be like, okay, I'm thinking of doing the laundry. Don't get up and do the laundry. And it's like talking to myself. And not every time it's going to work. Like, I'm still getting up and doing the things, but I'm more mindful of it.
Right. Like, this last weekend, I literally did nothing on Saturday.
You needed to, yeah.
And I felt horrible. I always do this. The twice a year I get to, like, I force myself to, like, sit around and do nothing for a full day and just binge watch whatever. I feel amazing. There's nothing you can say to me to get me off the couch. But in my head, I'm just reeling. Oh my God, I got to get, like, our garage is just so full of shit. I need to go through all this stuff, donate and throw away. There's just so much stuff. We've been in this house over a year, and there's still boxes in there from the move. Like, haven't even thought about the stuff in there. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I'm telling my husband, I'm like, I really got to get the garage done. He's like, today? Seriously? You said you were going to sit down. I'm like, yeah, but this shit still needs to get done. And nobody else is going to do it. So now I'm starting an argument with him because I'm sitting there pointing fingers that he's not going to fucking do it. And even if he tried, I'd be like, you
did it
can't do
wrong.
that because you're going to throw away shit that I actually wanted to keep, because I've in my heart don't want to be a hoarder, but I kind of am, but not really. Not a messy hoarder, but like there's certain things that I don't want you to throw away. So I'm gonna have to do it myself. But I'm mad at him for not even trying to help. But then I wouldn't let him help. It's a fucking cycle.
It's the control. And honestly, I've learned, like, I take out my anger on him because I feel like if he does it, it's gonna make the worry go away. And the fact that you're not doing it, you don't want my worry to go away. Seriously, you just want me to sit here and think like that. But they don't think like that. Like men are so different from women, where it's like they're laying down thinking about, wow, that reel I just watched was really funny. And we're like, okay, if we don't clean the garage, my whole life's gonna fall apart.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It's a totally different mindset, and it's hard to grasp because literally everything falls on us at the end of the day. Everything.
It's that mental load.
It is.
It's just the detail, the
woman's
fine detail.
a mother's mental load is just insane.
Yeah. I mean, we're worrying about the doctor's appointments, the sports, the haircuts, the clothes, all of it. And
We could physically do nothing all day, but yet still be exhausted
From our
because our minds don't shut off about all this shit that we need to do, or it's always what's next. What do I have to do next? What's next for today? What do I need to prep for tomorrow?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not like I didn't do anything. I wrote an entire meal plan for the whole week, and I ordered stuff on Instacart.
And that's what you need to remember. It's because we're so hard on ourselves, like you didn't get anything accomplished, because we're thinking of the things. It's never good enough for us, honestly. And then we have to get into gratitude. And that's what I have my clients do every morning. Because I don't know about you, like journaling was so hard for me because I didn't want to take the time to write. Like writing just took too much time. And like I have my clients sit down and write every single morning their gratitude, their list of what they have to do, and they get it out of their brain and onto paper. And then, teaching them how to slow down, how to do breath work, how to literally sit. And when your mind starts to think about something else, like just think of the ocean. Oh, I got to do this. Nope, just think about that ocean. And it's daily freaking work, man. And I still, as a coach, like I struggle with it.
Right.
And letting them know that too, like it's never going to be perfect. And if you keep expecting perfect, you're always going to be let down. You're always going to feel guilty. You're always going to be lazy. Because I don't know about you, like my mom was, if I was sitting down, I was lazy.
Yeah.
There's always something else to do. And I do that to my husband too. Like, how can you sit down when you see that there's a freaking sink of dishes right there? You don't want to help me? Like, you don't see that? And it's a cycle.
See, my husband is a napper. He'll
My
take
husband
like a
is too.
20-minute nap in the middle of the day. He's like, I'm going to go lay down real
Me
quick.
too, and I'm
really
so
tired.
pissed. I wake him up.
How the fuck are you going to take a 20-minute nap? Like, what?
Me too.
Why?
My husband does it too. I wake him up, and he gets so mad. I'm like, well, if I got to be up, you got to be up.
Like, yeah, I don't. But then for me, the reason I don't take naps is mainly because I can't take a 20-minute nap.
Your brain
I think
doesn't
that my
slow
brain
down.
needs to go through like a full REM cycle multiple times in order to even feel any kind of rest. Because if I wake up after 20 minutes, I'm fucking pissed.
Yeah.
Don't get in my way. I get the fuck. You're annoying the shit out of me. Like, don't even breathe.
Well, you're laying down and thinking of all the stuff you got to do. So if your
Right.
mind's going like this, your body ain't going to chill out.
Exactly. So I take like a 3-hour nap.
Yeah.
That's it.
And then you wake up and you feel like,
Well, it'll
oh,
take you at least an hour and a half just to get into
the
sleep
cycle.
mode,
Get
and then
in-
it takes me an hour and a half to get out of sleep mode when I actually
the
wake
same
up.
way. So there's
My
no
son-
point to it.
My son was talking to me like, I'm so sorry. I woke up an hour ago and I'm so foggy. I don't even know what's fucking going on.
Same. I am
hate
envious
this.
of that. Yeah, I do wish I could have that quick nap.
He's like, oh yeah, I feel great now. What's
like a power nap.
And then he gets up and starts eating.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you woke up hungry.
and still looks fit. Like, get the fuck
real
out of
nice. Same.
here, dicks.
Tell me how you really feel, Victoria.
How do they do it?
I could go on and on. I know.
It's not fair.
We're the caretakers, though. Remember that. We
I
caretake.
know. Mm-hmm. And things wouldn't get done if we didn't do them.
No.
Like my poor children, they would look like homeless children if I just allowed my husband to take care of it all the time.
Yeah.
They'd be dressed, probably not clean, maybe clean,
They look
maybe
good
not
on the
bathed.
outside.
maybe not bathed, and definitely not matching.
Yeah.
Although I don't really care if my kids match. I've kind of let them. I let that go a long time ago.
See, I'm the same way. I let my kids dress how they want, but my husband would be like, you let him leave the house like that?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, why not? Let him express himself. Like, who cares?
Yesterday, my daughter, was it yesterday? It was Sunday. We were going to Target, and she had splatter paint color shorts with a tie-dye shirt and tie-dye Crocs. And I'm like, I love this.
Yeah.
You know?
When you were a kid, did you have to match and look nice?
And my mom's no, and my dad's absolutely.
Yeah. So I was blonde. My mom always made me blonde from whenever I can remember. And I remember like coming down at a family thing. I dyed my hair black. I had all black. And she's like,
We did that.
Fuck upstairs. What are you doing? So as soon as last year when I went through my thing, I was like, no, I always wanted to be brunette. So I'm embracing the brunette.
Good for you.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm only going more blonde to cover my grays as they come in because I went really dark brown, and it's the second they come in, I can,
I just noticed my grays last week. I dyed my hair yesterday, and I missed some because they're all down here. So I started plucking them out.
Oh yeah.
As you can see, I've embraced it.
I love it.
I'm letting it go. I've been on a gray journey for a little over a year now. So, but I've gotten so many compliments from people. Like gray is like it's like a thing now.
It is. Everybody, like, even if they're not gray, they're dyeing their hair gray.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Cool.
I'm not ready for that yet.
And I'm
Embrace it.
I'm embracing it. It's a gift every day to wake up and have breath in your lungs. It's a gift to age.
Amen.
That's kind of why, sorry, Victoria, but I really don't like Botox and I don't like fillers and I don't like that shit.
I'm the same way.
Not only because it's toxic AF, and when you get older, your shit's not going to look good because it's not sustainable.
Is your body, your choice.
That's true.
Do it the
That's
fuck
why
you
I
want.
love you.
Your body.
I'm still going to tell you how I feel, though, because I'm your best friend.
Should never have told you. You would have never known.
She does know now.
I do know now. Can't go back.
Well, I'm not stopping it anytime soon, and I'm not going to
Well,
stop highlighting my hair.
My skin's going to look better than you when we're 80, so.
That's fine. We're going to be 80. Nobody gives a fuck. Nobody's going to care. I don't get fillers or anything. I get Botox in my hairline, and my forehead doesn't sweat anymore. It used to pour down my face. So, love that. And then right here, big deal.
She goes, big deal.
Big deal. My body, my choice. I can inject myself or not inject myself with whatever the fuck I want.
All right, so tell us about how people can sign up for the retreat and how they can contact you if they want to start your program.
All right. So you can find me on Facebook or Instagram at Chelsea Defina, Defina. My website is paintopowercoaching.net. So you can also contact me there. So right now there are 6 spots left. We have 13 spots total for the retreat. So if you are interested, just shoot me a message on Insta or Facebook and I will get back to you. Again, it's a $200 deposit. Pay the rest as you can, $1,500 total, due by June 1st. And it's in Fort Pierce, Florida, June 20th through the 24th. And to sign up for my 8-week program, it's just through that website, paintopowercoaching.net. But I'm an open book. Message me on social or Insta, and that's the fastest way to get to me.
Perfect.
How often do you do your 8-week course or is it
It's
courses?
it's individualized, so it's not a specific time. So you sign up, and then when you're ready to start, we start you on usually I like to start at the first of the month, and we do 2 months worth, and I have a lot.
So it's not like a group thing where you...
No, I have an ongoing Facebook group and an ongoing messenger that I just add them to, but it's very individualized. So your 8 weeks are your 8 weeks, and we just meet, once a week. So we start your 8 weeks when you're ready, and go from there. But the one-to-one calls is honestly where the magic is at, and that's where all my clients always come back. They'll sign up again because they just like having that communication. And like I said, it's not just health and fitness. We dive deep there. We talk about adaptations and mitigations. We talk about our nervous system. We rate our ladder of dysregulation, and we dive deep into education of the nervous system. So
aside from your, I know you said that you were certified in trauma coaching.
Yep,
right?
trauma specialist.
Trauma specialist.
I went to college. I have my degrees, in therapeutic recreation. Thought I wanted to work with elderly, and gravitated towards seniors with dementia. I'm not a personal trainer. I don't intend to be. I don't want to be. I've just educated myself on the body and mobility, and
the results speak for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's really awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story and being open and vulnerable with us. We appreciate it.
Yes, this was amazing. I love your guys' podcast, and I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. You can find us at www.ican'tevenimagine.com, on Instagram at ICEI_podcast, or on Facebook at I Can't Even Imagine - a podcast for moms. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.